My Hero Academia has two main plot threads. The first is always focused on Deku and his quest to become the greatest hero as he fights to live up to the legacy of his mentor, All Might. But in the shadows, there's another tale being told. The story of Tomura Shigaraki looking to become the greatest villain as he's tutored and mentored by All Might's immortal rival, All For One. Deku has made major strides in his path towards becoming a great hero, and a successor to his mentor, but poor Shigaraki has not had the same kind of luck. We've seen him struggle in his first act of villainy during the UA raid, and we saw him get completely upstaged by the hero killer Stain. Then in his biggest act of villainy of trying to kidnap and convert Bakugo to his side, completely backfired, leading to his hideout being discovered and raided by heroes who nearly decimated his fledgling crime syndicate of the League of Villains, with it almost being entirely wiped out. This aspiring criminal mastermind just can't catch a break. Will we ever see him become a villain capable of living up to the pedigree of his mentor? Well, it's become a bit of a tradition on this channel to do a check-in and see how our boy Shigaraki is doing. My very first video essay on this channel covered this topic, and we're going to go back and see how our handy boy is holding up, and oh boy, have there been some pretty exciting developments. So if you don't follow the manga, be warned, we're going to be getting into some big spoiler territory for the stuff you won't be seeing for a little while in the anime. So if you don't care or already follow the manga, join me as we get on the Shigaraki hype train to see if he's finally stopped sucking as a villain. You gotta love to be gone back yet. Don't you grab it. So the last time we left Shigaraki off, he'd gotten his first major victory. After forming an uneasy alliance with the Yakuza organization of the 8 Precepts of Death, Shigaraki bested his villain rival Overhaul by stealing his quirk-destroying bullet technology. This seemed like his greatest victory, a tool he could use to completely dismantle the superhero society, but then Shigaraki proceeded to do absolutely nothing with it. Because, you see, cut off from the resources of his mentor, Shigaraki and the League of Villains were pretty much dirt poor. Their last major appearance was in chapter 160, after Tomura's triumph over Chisaki, but the League is completely out of action until chapter 220, literally 60 chapters of the League not doing much of anything, where Shigaraki doesn't push his one minor victory forward. The quirk bullets are useless because no one else in the League of Villains knows how to make more of them. They don't have any money. Just like before, they're nothing but a bunch of aimless ruffians scurrying about in the underbelly of society, struggling to survive. The once mighty League of Villains that used to hang out in a nice bar which served as their clubhouse is literally trying to steal scraps from the abandoned hideouts of other villainous groups. Shigaraki has no greater plan. Even his allies like the lizard guy Spinner begin to turn on him, asking what is the point of everything? What is their greater game plan? Through a chance meeting with All For One's former bodyguard, the brutal rock monster Gigomatica, they get to meet All For One's mad scientist partner in crime, Dr. Robotnik, Drama Ujiko. And Ujiko calls it like he sees it. He has a great amount of technological wonders and grotesque quirk-wielding Nomu monsters that he could potentially give Shigaraki, but he refuses to help him, because as far as he's concerned, Shigaraki has accomplished nothing. All of the people that follow him are beginning to lose faith in him, and he doesn't seem to have any other greater game plan. As far as Ujiko is concerned, Shigaraki has done nothing to earn the ability to serve as All For One's successor. If he's going to become the greatest villain, he's going to have to step up and earn that title. If the other previous arcs have seen Deku go through the literal My Hero Academia at UA, what is about to follow is Tomura Shigaraki going through a crucible of fire in his own My Villain Academia, and easily one of the best arcs from the recent chapters in the series. Everything that's happened before this was just child's play compared to the Sith Lord levels of trials he's about to endure. He can't simply use dumb luck or ask for his sensei to bail him out if he screws it up this time. So things start out simply. His first task is to win over the giant rock monster, Gigomatica, to prove that he's a worthy successor for All For One. That doesn't go very well, but then things escalate. Tomura and his merry band of villains are challenged to a direct confrontation by Rikiya Yatsubashi, a wealthy evil CEO who behind the scenes has been organizing the Meta Liberation Army, a group that has existed in the world of My Hero Academia, advocating for the free use of quirks and powers as a new basic human right. His father, known as Destro, organized the first superhuman liberation army, and now his son, takes on the villain name of Re-Destro and is seeking to pick up where his father left off. Re-Destro is leading his own coalition of other CEOs and volunteers. They see the League of Villains as a direct challenge to their future ambitions, painting a bad name for the people who want to use their powers freely. And so Tomura is faced with his greatest challenge. Before he can overcome the heroes, he must win his first straight-up supervillain fight. So Re-Destro has kidnapped the League of Villains broker Giran and forced them to come to an entire city he's cleared out to specifically do battle with the League of Villains, where they're forced to face off against an onslaught of people dying to use their quirks. And it's a great fun arc filled with spectacular moments for fan-favorite characters like Toga and Twice. But those are just side dishes compared to the main course, which is seeing Tomura Shigaraki put to the greatest test he's ever faced. You see, before Shigaraki could get away with losing horribly, he always had 2 emergency escape hatches whenever something went wrong. First he had Kurogiri, who could just warp him out of any bad situation. Then there was All For One, who sacrificed the last of his villainous power to reveal himself to the world and ultimately save his successor. But Tomura doesn't have either of these anymore. Kurogiri was captured by the heroes, and All For One is in prison, so he literally has no one else to rely on but himself. And as he's pushed into this corner, his backstory is finally revealed. So a great amount of what will ultimately determine if Tomura can take on the mantle of the greatest villain is how good is his backstory. Previously, we've only gotten some vague hints about it. We saw some cryptic flashbacks of All For One, finding baby Shigaraki all alone. We learned that his grandmother was Nana Shimura, the previous wielder of One For All before All Might inherited it, and was also his mentor. It was enough to give us the broad strokes, but it didn't give us any of the important details, and amidst the chaos and ruckus of his new villain vs. villain brawl, we finally get the Shigaraki backstory we've been craving. And so we learn that unlike what we'd originally thought, Shigaraki came from a relatively stable home. He had a sister, he lived with his mom and dad who were relatively well off, since his father was an entrepreneur. His father even invited his in-laws to come live with him as well, so he had some loving grandparents from one side of the family. In those days, he was known by his birth name of Tenko Shimura, but despite coming from a stable home, everything wasn't perfect. Tenku's father Kotaru hated the idea of heroes. He despised the notion of it after being abandoned by his mother, Nana Shimura, who wanted to protect him from the villainy of All For One. But ironically, by protecting him, she would only sow the seeds of creating All For One's successor, the inheritor of his will. So poor Tenku just wanted to be told one thing, the same thing that Deku wanted to hear when he was 5 years old and discovered to be quirkless, that he too can become a hero. But unlike Deku, Tomura's cries to be a hero were not met with encouragement, but rather they were greeted by being struck by his father who beat him. And the rest of the family could only stand by and watch, and through their inability to hold back his father's rage would begin to manifest into hatred for all of them. In his eyes, through their inaction, they had all betrayed him. Even his sister who had stolen a photo of his grandma from their father's office to show him that they were related to a hero, but then snitched him out when his father discovered that the photo had been taken. And so, like a great scene from the best X-Men comics, Tomura's quirk finally manifested in his darkest moment. First went the cute little family dog, splitting apart like an overripe fruit. Unable to control his powers of decay and destruction, when his sister came to see if he was okay, all she saw was the grisly aftermath of what was left behind of their beloved dog. Tenku reached out to her for help, but as he touched her, she too crumbled away. Overcome with disgust and loathing, poor little Tenku vomited after seeing the aftermath of his newly unleashed quirk. Next came his mom. As she flew towards him, trying to comfort him with a loving embrace, she was the next one to break apart and crumble. Finally, his father came, seeing the horrible aftermath of the remains of his family strewn about the backyard. While the dog, sister, and mother were accidents, when it came to confronting his father, it was completely premeditated. An entirely willful murder as little Tenku put his fingers on his head. And that was the first time Tenku felt the irritation and his desire to scratch go away. But after his baptism in blood, Tenku was alone wandering the streets looking for anyone to save him. But no one came. They just overlooked him, seeing him as just another street urchin, except for one person. The one man who saw in him the will to follow in his footsteps. All For One had finally found a protege he could give everything to. Tenko Shimura was dead, and so All For One rechristened him as Tomura Shigaraki. Tomura from the word Tomaru, which means to mourn, and Shigaraki because, well, it was All For One's last name. And so Tenku, wearing the hands of his dead family, christened with the last name of the greatest villain ever seen in the My Hero Academia universe, proceeded on his journey to grow into the opposite of All Might's symbol of peace. He was to become the symbol of fear and terror, and in his fiery crucible, facing down Redestro, a far more capable villain with a better plan and better organization, without the aid of his mentor or friends, Shigaraki took on his final evolution. After being brutalized and broken with his hands torn apart and no one around to rescue him, Tomura decided he didn't need to hold on to the hands of his family anymore in mourning. He'd grown beyond the point of needing to rely on that crutch anymore to feel at peace. With his memories awakened and the hand of his father destroyed, Shigaraki was liberated from his limitations, allowing his field of decay and destruction to emanate around him, without even needing to touch anything. Everything crumbled around him, being crushed to dust as he laughed. Nothing mattered anymore. Finally free from the binding restrictions of petty morality, from the memory of his family, Shigaraki becomes the vessel of destruction incarnate, incinerating Redestro's mech, making him powerless against his will, laughing as it all comes crumbling down. And in the smoldering ruins of the aftermath, Redestro barely surviving by cutting off his own feet, Shigaraki approaches him, his body broken, but his spirit shining brighter than ever. Smiling, saying that he was the one who wanted to pick a fight with the League of Villains in the first place. He forces Redestro to submit to him. Redestro bows, offering the entire Liberation Army at Shigaraki's feet. Gigo Madoka can be seen crying as he finally sees Shigaraki growing into someone worthy of serving under, someone worthy of truly succeeding All for One's will. And at this point, Tomura has finally learned his greatest lesson. Instead of merely destroying Redestro and incinerating all of those who work under him, he finally learns the power of evil friendship. Unlike his time with Overhaul and the 8 Precepts of Death, who he never truly worked with or respected, he sees that the opportunity and resources of the Liberation Army can finally give him the tools he needs to create a real, lasting change. Where before his attacks were toothless and emotional outbursts that were petty and ineffective, now he can truly become a symbol of terror and destruction. And so Tomura has been reforged, leaving behind the shackles of his mourning and memories of his family behind to become reborn. The League of Villains is gone. It is now the Paranormal Liberation Front. All of the members of the League who managed to persist to this point have all been elevated, becoming officers in a new army. Where Shigaraki had nothing, now he is an army unified under his will. Several corporate CEOs who control access to vast capital wealth and resources, All for One's nearly indestructible bodyguard Gigo Madoka, and the vast scientific resources of All for One's physician Drama Ujiko, complete with his army of artificial Nomu super soldiers. Shigaraki has never been more than a minor ineffectual nuisance, but now he has real power for the first time in the series. Power he's gained through all the hard lessons he's learned, and after being at the bottom, he has a better understanding of how not to squander his potential. The real question is, now that he's finally reached a new height, will he be capable of living up to his mentor's legacy and deploying his newly won resources effectively? So since the last time we checked in on Shigaraki, he just won his victory over Chisaki, but because he didn't really accomplish anything major, even after getting his hand on the quirk-destroying bullet, I gave him a C+ on the grade of villainy. With this recent arc though, I'd say he's risen to a B+. We've seen him grow tremendously and most importantly put into the practice the hard lessons he's learned during his brief team-up in collaboration with the 8 Precepts. Instead of destroying the Liberation Army, he's finally realized he could utilize their resources to suit his own means. The real question is that now that he's finally in a position of power, one that he's earned through all of his actions instead of having it handed to him by All for One, what will he do with it? He has all the tools at his disposal to completely demolish the hero-based superhuman society, but we've seen him mess up before, so there's no telling if he'll manage to screw up again, like back when he tried to pull an Orochimaru and convert Bakugo to his side. But he's in the best position he's ever been to become the greatest villain. The real question is, will he be able to implement the lessons he's learned from his own private My Villain Academia, School of Hard Knocks, to ascend to the throne? But he's in the best possible position he's ever been in to truly make the world burn. And I can say it's been a very exciting time for Shigaraki fans to finally see him fulfilling his villainous potential. So check back in 2020 and we'll see how he's doing, and if all these new resources, he's finally become the villain this series needs and the one it deserves. Hope you enjoyed that video, taking a look at how everyone's favorite handy boy has been holding up. It's obvious that Shigaraki's come a long way since the beginning of the series, steadily growing into a bigger and bigger threat. And of course, to celebrate My Hero Month, don't think I just made one shirt. Yes, that's right, we got another My Hero Month shirt. Look at this bad boy, paying tribute to Shigaraki as he ascends towards the top, taking the place on the throne and becoming a new villainous mastermind, worthy of succeeding All for One. Look at this classy design that'll amuse your friends and family and not embarrass you in public. Oh yes, did you think I was done ragging on other embarrassing My Hero shirts? Oh no, I could do this all day. Hey Carl, nice to see you. Oh Jesus Christ, why can't you wear anything normal when we go out? What? It's a cool anime girl, what's wrong with that? I'd like to go out with you one time where you don't have an underage anime girl with their boobs hanging out and the word waifu on it. Is that so much to ask for? But she is my waifu. You're in the real world, Carl! This isn't Reddit or Discord or one of your other weird online places where you can talk about how much you want to bang imaginary cartoon girls. Just please go home and put on anything else. But just go, please, put on something else. I will not be seen in Applebee's with someone wearing that kind of shirt. Don't be a Carl and embarrass your friends and family at Applebee's when you go for the very economical 2 for $20 deal. Wear something you can be proud of and don't feel ashamed of yourself walking in public with. So get the shirt and keep My Hero Month going all year round, and remember to use the code MHM at checkout and get 10% off to turn an already very affordable shirt into something even more reasonable, unlike a certain other line of anime crossover merch from another celebrity, a little Mr. Michael B. Jordan, who expects you to shell out nearly $800 for a denim jacket. No, we like to offer things that won't cost you your entire bi-weekly paycheck. So get the Shigaraki Successor shirt and the Explosion King shirt and go to Applebee's with pride! Thanks for watching, and as always, if you want more, check out the My Hero Month playlist at the end of this video, and remember, lobsters and nettos, but don't you grab it.